Now that I've spent extensive time on both the Honda CRF300L and the Kawasaki KLX300 off-road, I feel qualified to finally give my unprofessional opinion about which is better, and I think that the answer might surprise you. Let's just get the elephant out of the room, or outside as it is. This is not a 300L, this is a 300L Rally. But I have one. I have spent extensive time on the 300L Rally. I have ridden the regular 300L on and off-road. I owned a CRF300L forever, so I'm very familiar with the platform and the capabilities of the 300L and the Rally, which I personally own at the moment. I also just got back from a really cool event in Big Bear, California, put on by Alpine Stars, where I had the opportunity to ride the KLX300 for 3 to 4 hours on very not easy terrain. I use the term flogging it just because I was really riding it harder than it's probably designed to be ridden by a person of my size on rocky technical trails, 2-track, hill climbs, really kind of steep stair-step descent up to the top of a couple gorgeous overlooks. It was a great ride, and I really felt like I got a sense of that bike's capabilities because I was pushing it pretty hard. Neither of these bikes is designed for someone my size, so let's just get that out of the way. My opinions will be colored by the fact that I weigh twice as much as the people these bikes are designed for and set up for, but I'm also not the only person my size that rides motorcycles, and I feel like honestly it's even more impressive how well they perform because you know, I am exceeding maybe the design specifications. They're overbuilt. Let's talk about the differences and the similarities between the KLX300 and the CRF300L, two of the best, if not the best, entry-level dual sport motorcycles available out there that are also fun to ride for experienced riders. Basically, it's an entry-level bike you can ride forever, in my opinion. The shorter list is the differences, so let's talk about the differences. Right up front, you notice the CRF300L has a better dash, it has a fuel gauge, it has a gear indicator, and the dash is brighter and easier to read. It looks more modern than the KLX. The KLX has a more utilitarian, old school. It's got a tachometer, but no fuel gauge, nothing like that. The 300L is slightly better at highway speeds, but again, not a ton. I actually noticed that I preferred the gearing on the CRF300L for off-road. There were a few times trying to climb steepish hills on the KLX that I was shocked I had to go down into first gear. So that is purely subjective. I don't even understand how gear ratios work. I'm just telling you how it felt when I rode the two bikes. On the 300L, you can get ABS, and it also has the Rally model available. We're not really talking about the Rally today, but most of what I say pretty much applies to the Rally. The Rally is just a little bit more of an adventure style bike. The suspension on the KLX is slightly better off-road, and you have more suspension adjustments, although it is not what I would call a hardcore, crazy, super capable suspension. It's still an entry-level dual sport suspension. It's just slightly better than the Honda, a little stiffer, a little better at handling the off-road, and it has more adjustments than the Honda does. The Honda, however, feels better on the road because it's a little squishier and will soak up those kind of bumps and jostles on the highway and on back roads a little bit better, in my opinion. There's one more horsepower on the Kawasaki, so if you want to say you have the one with the most horsepower, there it is, but I guarantee you're not going to feel the difference in any significant or meaningful way. The stock tires on the KLX are slightly better. I did okay on them in the kind of loose, sandy stuff we were riding in. I do not like the stock tires on the CRF at all. I don't like those IRCs. I feel like they're pretty great on the road and on the gravel, but that's about it. The aftermarket support for the CRF seems slightly better. Seems like there's more stuff out there available. And the Kawi has better stock protection. So it's got a small skid plate. The CRF doesn't come with a skid plate. And it has two very small engine guards, both of which I clanged off rocks in my time riding the KLX. So there you go, take it with a grain of salt. That's the differences. Let's talk about the similarities. Number one similarity, everything else. Like literally everything else is very similar. Weight, fuel capacity, price, ground clearance, tire size, brakes, suspension travel, torque, horsepower, the transmission, etc. It goes on and on and on. There are minuscule, minute differences between those two things, but they're all within what I would call negligible parameters, and they all offset in such a way that there is no clear one that has better in every category. They're all incredibly similar. Remember the summer when Deep Impact and Armageddon both came out, right? Two movies about asteroids destroying Earth and some sort of cunning last-ditch effort to save us. It's like that. The CRF is Armageddon and the KLX is Deep Impact, and they're basically the same plot with slightly different nuances. Little different flavor is all. They're both excellent, easy to ride entry-level bikes. Both are very fun, smooth for new and experienced riders alike. Both of these bikes will take you just about anywhere. Just slowly in some cases, depending on where you want to go. Both are incredibly reliable, easy to maintain, and inexpensive dual sports. They're both underpowered for the highway, but capable enough. It's sort of a means to an end on the highway with these. They'll do 65, 75, but not comfortably, and you don't want to do it for a long period of time. They're both undersprung for off-road, but capable enough. Again, these are bikes that can go anywhere, but they don't go everywhere fast. They'll take you anywhere you want to go except fast. They get fantastic gas mileage. Both of them have uncomfortable seats. Both of them need additional protection, although less on the CRF technically. Both need new tires for serious or more serious off-road. Both have squishy feeling suspensions, especially if you're a heavier rider like me. Now, for newer riders, that is an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage being the bike will sag down so much, it's easier to get your feet down, and so if seat height is a concern, it's not as much of a concern because you're gaining about 2 inches in sag in most cases. So there's a lot of similarities between these two bikes, and now that I've spent a bunch of time on both, my honest to goodness opinion is this. People want to debate the nuance and minutia to discover which of these bikes is, quote, better. Which one's better? Which one's gonna make me a better rider and get me more places? They're all hoping for some definitive number or feature that really sets one bike apart from the other and helps them make a decision between the two. But at the end of the day, the difference between these two bikes, particularly the butt dyno, the feeling of riding them, is virtually non-existent. If you blindfolded me and let me ride both of these bikes, I'm not 100% sure I could tell which is which. We are talking about like 1% performance differences in specific categories and overall. The list of similarities is a mile long. The list of differences is very short, and they're all such tiny nuances that honestly, they don't even really matter. The type of person that buys an entry-level dual sport motorcycle is not going to be able to tell the difference. You, if that's what you're shopping for as a beginner or intermediate rider, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference between these bikes. Stop just trying to decide which is better than the other and just go out and find one. In my non-professional opinion, it does not matter what you buy. You're getting a rock-solid, bulletproof, capable, easy-to-ride, inexpensive dual sport bike that will take you anywhere you want to go as long as you don't want to go fast, and that is on-road and off-road. You can get through anything. You can ride intermediate trails on these bikes, but you can't ride them at speed necessarily because you'll find the limitations of the suspension and the power to carry you up and over things. You could theoretically survive riding hard trails on this bike. I just wouldn't recommend it because there's a point where it stops being fun and starts becoming work, and you really do find that ceiling on these bikes, but not until you're trying to ride hard or fast or are really experienced as a rider. If you want to get out and explore, ride forest roads and trails, and understand that highway is possible but not pleasant, you can't go wrong with either bike. They will get you through just about anything, but there's a definite ceiling to what is comfortable to do on them and at what point they start to survive rather than are capable and crush what it is you're trying to do with them. These bikes are just incredibly beginner friendly, smooth, and easy to ride, and they both have my wholehearted recommendation. Which bike should you go out and get for yourself if you're trying to decide? Well, my conclusion in terms of which bike is better is this. If you're trying to decide between them, stop. Stop trying to decide between them. You are wasting your time. Go out and find the one that has the most mods already added to it, or the one you can get the best deal on, or just the one that you think looks cooler. Get the bike that you're going to be the most happy with for the longest time, and stop worrying about and debating little minutia like less than an inch of ground clearance or 1 horsepower. You, as a new, intermediate, or beginner rider, are not going to feel that. And if you're an advanced, super skilled rider, then you already know why you're buying these bikes. You already know which one you want, or you know that it doesn't matter. If you're waiting for a sign for which one to buy, if you're waiting for something to help you make a decision, here it is. Just go buy the one that's cheaper. Stop debating between them and trying to find a clear, better bike. There just isn't one. Magazines have to sell advertising, so they tear into the tiny differences, but the average rider will never notice the things they're debating. That is my clear and honest opinion. And if I were out today to buy a entry-level dual sport motorcycle that I also could ride for a long period of time and enjoy, literally what I would do is email both the Honda dealership and the Kawasaki dealership and say, what's your out the door price? Whichever one was lower, I would take to the other dealership and see if they could beat it. If they could, then I would buy their bike, and if they couldn't, I'd just go buy the one with the other estimate. They're both great bikes. They're both fantastic machines, and I personally would be very happy with both of them, and I personally wholeheartedly recommend both of them to you, so long as you know there is a limit to their capabilities, but you're unlikely to find it until you are at least an intermediate rider. Until then, you're just gonna have a blast on the damn thing. Go out, buy it, ride it, enjoy it, and stop worrying about it. So if you want more info on the 300L Rally, Make sure you check out my 300L playlist that I have going if you want to see that ride with Alpine Stars with the Kawasaki KLX300. I will link it for you as soon as that video is done. I'm not sure what order these are going to come out in, but I had a blast out there riding that thing, and I honestly look forward to getting back on one soon. So that's my opinion. My conclusion, doesn't matter which one you buy. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.